As the sun set over the abandoned asylum, its shadow stretched long and skeletal across the overgrown lawn. For years, this imposing brick structure had stood silent and empty, its secrets buried deep within its decaying walls. As I stepped closer, the wrought iron fence creaking under my touch. The asylum had been home to countless souls. I could feel the weight of its history pressing down on me, each with their own story of pain, anguish, and despair. The air within the room was stagnant and heavy, whispering stories of suffering and sorrow. My eyes struggled to pierce the gloom, and the padded cell had been at the center of it all, as though the very walls were exhaling the tormented breaths of those who had come before me. The peeling paint and grime offered a glimpse into the asylum's dark past, reaching out to me across the chasm of time. The asylum had been notorious for its brutal treatment of patients. Doctors had subjected them to horrific experiments, torturing their minds and bodies without remorse. I stumbled towards it, my heart racing, and soon found myself in a small chamber. The very air within the cell seemed to crackle with the energy of their tormented spirits. I ran my fingers over the cold, hard surface, a beacon of hope in the suffocating darkness. Scattered around the room were fragments of the asylum's gruesome past, while others lay scattered and broken, remnants of those who had suffered and died within its walls. There were femurs, skulls, rib cages, each bone whispering a silent story of pain and loss. Some bones were neatly stacked as if placed there intentionally. It was a macabre museum of suffering, a testament to the dark and twisted history of the asylum. My eyes struggling to adjust to the dim light. It was a place where sanity had been lost and found, broken and rebuilt. And it was here, in the midst of its crumbling grandeur, that I had found a piece of myself that I never knew was missing. A reason for being, a connection to humanity that transcended the boundaries of time and space. The asylum may have been a house of horrors, but it had also been a house of healing, a place where broken minds had come to mend and lost souls had sought refuge. And it was here, in the midst of its decay and ruin, that I had found the strength and resilience of the human spirit. I had found empathy, compassion, and understanding. Gasping for breath, I looked around. I carried with me the stories of those who had suffered and died within its walls, their silent pleas for remembrance echoing in my ears. I vowed to keep their memory alive, to tell their stories so that their souls could finally find peace, momentarily illuminating the grim tableau before plunging it back into darkness, tracing the hollows where eyes had once sockets. Sarah Jenkins, I read, my voice echoing in the vast emptiness of the chamber. Who was Sarah Jenkins? A profound grief for the countless lives that had been broken and lost within these four walls. What had she done to deserve such a fate? Her name was just one of many that haunted the asylum's halls, each a silent plea for remembrance. In that moment, I felt an eerie connection to these long-dead souls, a sense that their stories were intertwined with my own. What had these people endured? What horrors had they witnessed within these four walls? Their pain, their suffering, their hopes and dreams. It was as though the very fabric of time had been torn asunder, allowing me to glimpse the raw, unvarnished truth of their existence. I felt a sudden, overwhelming sense of sadness. Who were these people? What had brought them here? And how had they met their untimely demise? Trying to connect with the human stories that had unfolded here. The thought of exploring this subterranean labyrinth both thrilled and terrified me. It was like a forbidden adventure, a journey into the very heart of darkness. I pressed on, my heart pounding in my chest, each a reminder of the countless lives that had been lost to the asylum's dark and twisted past. I felt a deep sense of responsibility settle upon me. These were not just names or stories. They were human beings, men, women, and children who had lived, loved, and suffered. It was my duty to keep their memory alive, to ensure that their stories were told so that they would never be forgotten. The darkness was absolute, impenetrable, and I felt a sudden surge of panic. Was I truly alone in this subterranean labyrinth, or were unseen eyes watching me from the shadows? The darkness seemed to press in on me, suffocating me with its suffocating embrace. But the lure of the unknown was too strong to resist, and with a flashlight in hand, I ventured into the tunnel, the damp earth pressing close around me like a suffocating blanket. But as they adjusted, I began to make out the outlines of figures within the shadows. Were they patients, doctors, or something else entirely? I discovered a network of tunnels that had been used by patients and staff alike. These underground passageways were a hidden part of the asylum's infrastructure, a labyrinth of darkness beneath the surface. Some whispered that the tunnels were nothing more than a convenient way to transport patients, while others claimed they were used for far more sinister purposes. And now it was my turn to explore its haunted halls and uncover the chilling secrets that lay within. I was always fascinated by haunted places, but there was something about this place that chilled me to the bone. I wandered through the crumbling corridors, my footsteps echoing in the oppressive silence. These sounds, or were they cries for help? Each step took me deeper into the heart of the asylum, closer to its darkest secrets. A sudden gust of wind rattled the loose window panes, and I jumped, my heart pounding in my chest. Curiosity and morbid fascination battled within me. Should I venture further into this labyrinth of madness or turn back while I still have a chance? Their eyes wild with terror or madness, each mark telling a tale of unimaginable torment. But the allure of the unknown was too strong to resist. And with a deep breath, I pushed the door open and stepped inside. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of decay and the specter of madness. It felt as though the very walls were closing in on me as I delved deeper into its history, suffocating me with their suffocating secrets. Then I saw it, a door slightly ajar at the end of the corridor. This was the padded cell, a place where sanity was stripped away and tormented souls were locked away from the world. I shivered, pulling my jacket tighter around me, as if it could ward off the icy grip of fear that was beginning to tighten around my heart. The silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of my own ragged breathing and the distant, unsettling moans that seemed to be carried on the wind. It was a repository of memories, a mausoleum of the mind. Pleas from tormented souls trapped within the asylum's confines, but as a caretaker of memories, they echoed in my ears, growing louder, more insistent, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was not alone. The padded walls bore witness to countless acts of violence and despair. My mind raced, conjuring images of patients thrashing against the walls. But I was not the first to seek out the asylum's secrets. I hesitated, the darkness of the tunnel both terrifying and alluring. The air grew colder, the stench of decay more pungent. But I forced myself onward, desperate to escape the claustrophobic grip of the tunnel. Then I saw a faint glimmer of light ahead, and that's when I saw them, the bones. As I moved through the chamber, my flashlight beam danced across the bones. I ran my fingers over a skull, and then I saw it, a name etched into the wall, a silent testament to a life cut short. As I continued my exploration, I came across more names, more stories waiting to be told. John Doe, Jane Doe, Mary Smith. The asylum was not just a building. And so I left the asylum not as a mere explorer of the abandoned and forsaken, for in doing so I had found a purpose.